Experience the future of Maine news today at mainewebnews.com.
Today on the Pulse of Maine, we're going to be looking at the medical marijuana referendum and how the governor and the legislature changed it after the fact. We're going to look to see if those changes were constitutional and in the best interest of the people. We have a very special guest. We hope you find this segment of the Pulse of Maine educational and informative, and we look forward to your feedback.
Well, hi Eric, good to see you today. Again, like you said, I'm Patrick Calder. I'm a Republican running for the State House here in Portland, District 114, up in the East Earing neighborhood. Well, Eric, I think that this issue is actually a lot larger than the issue of medical marijuana. It comes down to what government is able to do and what it should do vis-a-vis the people's will. It's very plain that if the people of the state of Maine or any organization, if a majority vote, it's the government's responsibility to act on and facilitate the will of the people. This is not a moral issue as to whether or not you agree with medical marijuana or marijuana use in general. That's really irrelevant. It's an ethical issue on what government is supposed to do for people, what government is not supposed to do for people, and how they enact that. For the state government, Governor Baldacci and the legislature to go in after the fact and start playing with and changing the rules of the game is not acceptable. It's yet another example of our legislature and our government here in the state not being receptive to what the people want. We've had numerous people's vetoes for tax increases, and of course with this marijuana issue, it's yet another example of the government not representing the will of the people.
As we know, we have a medicinal medical marijuana law here in the state of Maine, and that was passed by and initiated by Maine voters in referendum. It's important to me that all Maine voters, in all referendum initiatives, all laws in the books of Maine are upheld and represented by the executive. What's happened recently has been the undermining of the law as it was intended by the voters.
When the Citizens Initiative passed, some friends of mine and myself, we got together and we thought, you know, what a great opportunity. We can have a small business, maybe say support 100 patients, do what we like to do, grow, set up a greenhouse, mom and pop businesses for the two couples. Turns out we can't do that, you know, because of the way they've set up the law. But what we're doing now on a small scale is a huge local has a huge local impact and could for the state. I buy lots and lots of pro-mix and compost and manure. I have people come and compensate me for my medicine. That money I turn right around. I spend across the street at the local store. I've probably bought more hamburgers and beer than I would have bought last year. We buy lumber from the local lumber yard. We hire a local person to help us with our gardening. We're spending a lot of money in the state, and a lot of money is flowing through this. This is what Maine needs. It needs people in the local areas that can support their families. We need to get off the welfare state. We need to get off unemployment. We need to be self-sustaining.
My concern is this latest move to usurp the power of the people as they spoke in referendum. This move represents that movement towards centralization and limiting the people's involvement in their own law. The medical marijuana dispensary law, as set up under the referendum, allowed for individuals to take charge in combination and combined with their medical professionals, take charge of their medicine and the distribution of their medicine. Now we see outside state interest, large corporate interest creeping in. This concerns me. Maine's economy is small. It's fragile. We need these opportunities for Maine people to be engaged in making economy in their community.
You can see the medicine all over it, the THC. That's the crystally stuff. That's an amazing solar panel right there. I did support the referendum issue, foolishly. My wife suggested I don't support it. She felt that allowing DHHS into our homes and into our private lives was a mistake, that they would take too much power, that they would limit our freedoms. I poo-pooed her. I was wrong. Now I have to daily tell her how right she was. In that bill, in 1811, they've stripped me of my Fourth Amendment rights by requiring inspections from DHHS, a non-law enforcement agency, to enter my home and search to see if I'm in compliance. There are no guidelines as to how these people can behave once they're in my home. In the black market, a bud like that would easily bring, you know, in certain locations down around Portland, this will bring $300 an ounce, easy, on the black market. This is what the dispensary wants to sell for $300 an ounce.
Right.
Now here in town, I can buy illegal Mexican marijuana for $150 an ounce all day long.
Yeah.
Right here in town. Now, who in the world is going to go to a dispensary and pay $300 for marijuana?
Patrick, is this something that you will safeguard against by making sure the government doesn't resort to these tactics where they're utilizing out-of-state resources when there's no need to, as well as making sure that we can rein costs in?
The issue again becomes the irrelevance of the morality of whether or not you agree with using marijuana medicinally or recreationally or what. The simple fact is, if the people of the state of Maine voted to allow medicinal use of marijuana, it's the government's responsibility to enact and manage such a program as that, and to outsource it out of state and send even more of Maine's dollars, the money of our hard-working citizens here in the state. To send more of that out of state is irresponsible to the point of negligence. Too much Maine money flows out of state. Too many people here in Maine are having a hard time just making ends meet. It's you have to make the best of what is in some people's minds a bad situation. If we're going to do this here in Maine, and this is what the people want, then it behooves us to do it responsibly and in such a way that it will benefit more people in Maine. I firmly believe, and I tell many people as I campaign, that I don't believe that Maine will be a good place for any of us unless it's a good place for all of us. And this is one place where we can start.
There's absolutely no reason why the farmers in this state can't exploit any farm product, any agricultural crop, to better their families. The state ought to welcome this growing industry. We have industrial hemp laws in the state that require background checks and fingerprinting to grow a hemp plant for fiber or for seed. You know, we have restrictions on growing medical marijuana. This should be, frankly, I believe it ought to be legal. God said, you know, all seed-bearing herbs are for your use. God made no prohibitions against one plant or another. He did about animals, he did about fish. He didn't do it about plants. We're supposed to use this plant. Farmers ought to be able to grow it. The paper industry could benefit from it. The fiber industry could benefit from it. The medical industry could benefit from it. Farmers could benefit from it. And the state could benefit from more people being able to support themselves than living on welfare and waiting for the next unemployment check. This is time we stop the prohibition and start applying some logic to this industry. It's not dangerous. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a threat to society.
This is Eric Bennett with Maine Web News, where we're keeping our finger on the pulse of Maine. And for additional footage that you won't find anywhere else, please log on to www.mainewebnews.com.
Consider making www.mainewebnews.com your homepage. You'll be able to use our Start Page search engine, which does not record your IP address or track your searches like other search engines.
Experience the future of Maine News today at mainewebnews.com.